It's 9 o'clock. We're going to call the meeting to order. Could Pastor Farthing come forward, please?
Let's pray. Father in heaven, we thank you for another wonderful day to live in a free country. We thank you for the opportunity to serve the people of this county. We know that we do so under your authority. We do so under your auspices. Father, we ask that all decisions we make, all the discussions we have, that would be our end goal, to do what is good and pleasing in your sight and beneficial to the people we serve. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now would you take the roll call, please? I guess I got to call it to order first, but then take the roll.
Commissioner Richardson, Commissioner Thayer,
Here.
Commissioner Pettit.
Here. All right, the next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion. We approve the agenda as presented.
Second, please vote.
Aye.
The next item is consent agenda.
I'll make a motion. We approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second, please vote.
Aye.
Okay, now we go down to the elected officials, department, and staff heads. I have Rick Morgan here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, commissioners, elected officials, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for making time on your schedule. I know it's very busy to talk about the County Veteran Service Office and what we've done last year for the veterans and the families here in Elbert County. I'm Rick Morgan, your County Veteran Service Officer, and we do a lot of different things for the veterans and the families here in Elbert County. You can see a list of the items that we help veterans with on the right-hand side of the slide. Next slide, please. First, I'll talk a little bit about what's happening with veterans nationally, and then I'll focus on Elbert County and what's going on here in Elbert County. Nationally, there's a steady decline and has been since over the last 20 years, actually longer than that, of the number of veterans in the nation from the various conflicts that we fought. At the same time, we see a steady climb in the VA expenditures in order to provide for the care and welfare of those veterans and their families over time. Next slide, please. By individual conflict, you can see that the World War II veterans in blue at the bottom of this bar graph are departing at a very rapid rate, somewhere between 75 to 85 per day nationally for the World War II veterans. And not too terribly far behind them are the Korea veterans. But the Vietnam veterans and the Gulf War veterans are going to be with us well into the middle of the century. And I would just point out at the bottom of the slide that 2 years ago we had about 300,000 World War II veterans still nationwide. And this year, as of the end of September, that was down to 167. So roughly half of those were gone in that 2-year period. Those great heroes are going to be missed dearly, but we'll take care of them as the time goes by. Next slide, please. Shifting now to Elbert County. This is the performance of the VA dollars coming into Elbert County since 1998, so over the last 24 years. Last year, in 2021, $17,700,000 VA dollars came in to benefit Elbert County veterans and their families, and I'll talk about how that's broken out in just a moment. Over that same 24-year period, the number of Elbert County veterans has risen steadily, and in contrast to the national trend of a decline in the number of veterans. Because we have nearby military bases both to the north and to the south, we anticipate, and the VA anticipates more importantly, that The Elbert County veteran population is going to remain around 2,000 through about the mid-century, 2045 or so, and that's because of those bases that'll set us a little bit apart from the national trend where there's a much stronger decline. Over the last 20 years, actually 24 years, Elbert County's veterans population has roughly doubled. In that same period of time, the amount of VA dollars flowing into the county has increased by a factor of 13. So a large increase, just over $17 million last year. Next slide, please. So let's talk a little bit about how those dollars are broken out, what kind of funds are coming into the county. So just over $7 million was provided to 538 unique patients, veterans patients, in terms of medical benefits. The one I want to draw your attention to in particular is the compensation and pension, which we would call disability payments or for compensation for disabilities, about $9.2 million, which is up 14% from last year. So we're staying well ahead of inflation. Those $9.2 million go directly to veterans and directly to veterans' families here in the county. So that then turned around in grocery stores and gas stations and local businesses as direct payments to those veterans. Disability compensation benefits are up $1.1 million from last year, and that's the one that goes directly to the veterans and directly into the local economy. Medical benefits are up by over $880,000 from last year as well. So overall, about a 13% increase in the benefits that are flowing into Elbert County over 2021. Next slide, please. So this shows how that $9.2 million is distributed to Elbert County veterans and their families. On the left-hand side, you see the rating percentage in terms of, for example, 100% service-connected disabled veteran is shown in the far right graph. There's about 64 of those here in the county. These, by the way, are numbers from 2021, not 2022 numbers. The 22 numbers are not available yet. They'll be reported next year. But the disability rating is on the left-hand side, and then I want to draw your attention to the right-hand graph, which shows the age of the recipient. And most of what the disabilities that we're seeing in the previous few years has been from Vietnam veterans and also Korea veterans and a very small slice of World War II veterans. What we're seeing on the right-hand side of this slide is an increasing number of veterans from Afghanistan and Iraq that are being represented in the disability numbers as well, as we start to see at the same time Korea numbers and World War II numbers drop off. So we anticipate that the numbers, that we'll see a bulge in the slide on the right-hand side move to the right as the Iraq and Afghan vets start to age. Most of them are in the late 20s to late 30s time frame. Next slide, please. This is a breakout of the Elbert County's wartime veterans. About 2/3 of Elbert County's veterans are wartime veterans. And you can see that they're broken out very roughly half and half between Gulf War veterans and Vietnam veterans, with a small slice for World War II, remaining World War II and Korea vets. I would point out that among Elbert County's wartime veterans, 12% of our wartime veterans are women, which is not a figure that would have been there when I started this job a long time ago. About 1 in 4 of Elbert County's veterans overall are 9/11 veterans of, or post 9/11 veterans of Afghanistan and Iraq. I'll just, a quick word on the Veterans Administration's terminology here. When they talk about Gulf War veterans, that's everybody after the 2nd of August of 1990. So upon Saddam Hussein's invasion of Kuwait, that's when the Gulf War period started, and that includes all Iraq and Afghan vets today. So from that period, August of 1990 to today, is all encompassed in that Gulf War figure. Next slide, please. So this is a breakout of what happens with the Veteran Service Office. So we get calls on a regular basis, and unfortunately, we keep track of what the calls are, but the reporting requirement that I happen to have doesn't include emails and text messages and tweets and a bunch of other things as well. So I don't really track those things because they're not asking for the numbers. But those different ways of communicating are going to be parallel with the numbers of calls that we have here. So we handle just over 600 calls a year from folks, and when we say vets assisted, that means, you know, veterans where we actually got out the shovel and did some work for them and helped them get benefits in that process. So about 243 veterans that we actually filed claims for, got them connected with their educational program, or got home loans for them, or one of those kinds of things. We currently have 493 active files. Last time I was here, I took a moment to explain that an active file is kind of hard to define when you're talking about veterans benefits. Case in point is working now with a veteran's family where the veteran was sick back in 2003 with an Agent Orange condition. He died. We then helped the widow with her claim for a widow's pension. As a result of that, that was denied by the VA, and then we've helped her over the years. And with the recent passage of the PACT Act, which I'll talk about in just a moment, she's now eligible to apply for a condition that her husband died for over 20 years ago. So what is an active file? Well, an active file in that case spans over 20 years, and in many of the cases, it's from when the veteran walks in the door until after their family has sent them, put them in their grave. So it can be quite a while. We actually handled just about 50 new disability claims last year. We've got about 24 ongoing appeals or new appeals that have been filed in that same period of time. That's fine. Go right ahead, Bart. Thanks. One thing that I would point out is that throughout the pandemic, from March of 2020 until today, the office never closed. We transitioned largely from in-person meetings and working with folks to telephone, but we never closed the doors. We never stopped supporting, and in fact, during that period of time, the amount of VA benefits flowing into the county during the pandemic increased by $4.6 million. So all in all, our benefits flowing into the county last year, over $17 million. The state provides the support, the stipend for the Veteran Service Office. The county provides for some benefits because we are an employee of the county in that process. But all in all, I think it's a very cost-effective mechanism for bringing federal tax dollars back into the county to benefit our veterans and our families of veterans in that process. A few words, if I might, about the new federal legislation passed in August called the PACT Act, and I hope you'll forgive me, I don't remember what that acronym stands for, but the PACT Act provides VA coverage for vets who've been exposed to toxic burn pit smoke and so forth from Iraq and Afghanistan. A lot of folks are familiar with that, got a lot of press coverage on that, and it's going to help our veterans a lot in that process. But what a lot of folks don't know is that the PACT Act also provided for an expanded applicability of the Agent Orange eligibility into Thailand and Guam and some other areas. And the widow that I was talking about before, her husband was deployed to Thailand and was never before eligible for the Agent Orange conditions, one of which he died of. I would just encourage everyone that you run into, if they think that they might be eligible for the PACT Act application, please send them our way, because it can make an enormous difference to that family, not just in terms of the individual involved, but there's a strong potential for widows, for example, who applied 20 years ago and were denied, for them to have benefits that are going to transform their family for generations. So I encourage you to please go ahead and vector them our way. I'd be happy to talk to them and help make sure that they understand they get all the benefits that they've earned. I am now and have always been deeply honored to serve as your Veteran Service Officer, and I recognize the privilege that you do to me in that process, in entrusting the benefits and the welfare of your veterans and their families to our hands. So thank you very much for that, and I'm honored to be your County Veteran Service Officer. I'm happy to take any questions.
I don't have any questions, but I want to thank you for the time and effort you put into this. I know you spend a lot of time with this and the attorneys at the library and stuff, so just want to thank you for your time and effort you've been putting into for the citizens of Elbert County.
My comment is almost exactly the same as you just heard. Thank you for the service, and the county is very beneficial to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Tax sale. Sherry.
Good morning, Commissioner. Sherry Hewlett, Elbert County Treasurer. Just wanted to update you on our tax lien sale that we had yesterday. As I've stated before, Ed Kovitz wasn't able to attend. I think he's going to retire. So in his steed, Todd Natale was our auctioneer, and he did a wonderful job. So I thank him for that, and my staff for all their hard work. When I pulled the numbers this morning, we took to sale 162 parcels. 9 of those were mobile homes that did not sell, and there were 2 real properties that didn't sell. The turnout wasn't great. I think I counted 18, maybe 20 folks there. I don't know if it was weather related or, the economy or both, but we didn't have as many as we did last year. But all in all, we got the taxes collected, and that's a good thing. Premiums this year were at $14,007, which is about an 8% increase. We offered for sale $175,062.56. Last year we only had 119 go to sale, and our premiums were at $10,772.50, which was a 10.63%, but we sold less. People were paying. I think they were happy to be at a live auction after 2020 when we had to do the online auction. So they were spending money last year, so that was good. It went smoothly. We were done, I think, by noon. Everybody was happy to be here, and we had some new faces in the crowd, so that's always nice to see, as well as our normal investors that come to the sale. So all in all, it was very successful. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. No?
I don't have any
Okay.
questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Is there any other elected official or department heads that would like to state?
Good morning, Commissioners. Dallas Schroeder, Elbert County Clerk and Recorder. I just want to give you a brief update on our election that we just conducted on November 8th. I'll start with some numbers. These numbers are as of November 14th. We had 16,383 votes, which equated to a 74% turnout within the county, which makes us quite higher than the state average, which was running about 50%. So our voters turned out and en masse, and that's great. Of those voters, 735 voted in person. Those are people that come to our vote service center and able to either mark a ballot on the ballot marking device or fill out a paper ballot. During the early vote period at our office at the SEB, we serviced 159 voters. On election day, November 8th, 569 of those people came in to vote in person. And the breakdown on that was 237 came to our office at the Samuel Elbert building, 130 went to our remote site at Spring Valley Golf Course, and 202 at the Town of Elizabeth site. So we had a good turnout at all 3 of those locations. We received a total of 15,648 mail ballots, and those are anything that we consider a mail ballot is just one that's not voted in person. 2,270 were received by the mail, which is 15%. The rest, 85%, were in the drop boxes that we have throughout the county. The most popular drop box was the one in front of Elizabeth Town Hall, followed by the Singing Hills drop box up at the fire station off of Singing Hills, and then the Samuel Elbert building was the third most used in our last one. So we had good turnout, good disbursement throughout the county on the returns. And I always want to take some time to say thank you. It's definitely a team effort. It's a big project, but it takes a lot of people, and I just want to recognize those folks. We can't get it done without our election judges. There are certain things that are required that we have a bipartisan team do, and we had a good amount of judges this year. We had 27 different election judges, and I just want to, for the record, put their names out there because they all did a great job for us. We balanced perfectly on all our mail ballots that came in, and that's our goal, is to be able to do that. So for our Democrat judges, Tracy Ducharme is our lead Democratic judge and does a great job for us in leading that. Her and Danny Wilcox represent the Republicans as lead judge for the Republicans. They really administer and run the county room. They manage the judges, manage the workflow, and they do a great job working together with that. The rest of the Democratic judges, we have Brad Height, Chris Hurtnecki, Alan Krennick, Patty Lampman, Alessandra Nevada, Susan Schick, Ruth Ann Stricker, Art Weber, Jill Duvall, Rick Brown, Lori Wasmond, and Jim Duvall. And the rest of our Republican judges, Beth Wilcox, Margie White, Gary Aspaslaw, Patricia Creekmore, Diane Edstrom, Candy Putsch, Dee Pepper, Jason Lippman, Ashley Pennington, Rhonda Olson, Wendy Walp, Debbie Kirk, and Kelly Turkatz. And so we really thank those folks for the work that they're doing. Some of them still have a little bit more work to do before we put this completely to bed, but we appreciate their efforts in working with us. Our canvas board this year representing the Democratic Party will be Jim Duvall, and for the Republicans will be Ted Hannon. And that'll be the board that signs off along with myself to finally certify the election. That has to be done by November 30th, barring any automatic recounts that we may have. Some specific things we want to also thank our facilities crew is always on call for us. They do a great job for us if we have any issues, any problems, planning with us to make things work. And so it's awesome to have a relationship like that. So we want to thank the facilities. We definitely want to thank the Sheriff's Office and the posse. I had many conversations with the sheriff and undersheriff about security for our elections, and then also they supplied posse members that were on site on election day to provide that extra layer of security. And so we certainly appreciate those volunteers from the posse volunteering their time for that. Of course, we want to thank our IT folks. Their IT and cybersecurity is a big part of what we want to accomplish in elections, and they're more than willing to help us in getting that done. There's a lot of moving parts, particularly on these even number elections when we have the remote sites, making sure our computers and everything that we need at those sites are working properly. So we want to thank them for their support and being on call. One of the main things that we like to do in elections is eat, and so we always encourage people to bring food. It's always accepted and appreciated, but particularly this time we want to thank the Republican Party who provided lunch for us on the Monday before the election, and then one of our judges volunteered on her own for lunch on election day, Kelly Turkatz, or for I guess it was supper. But that was certainly above and beyond. We don't expect our election judges to feed everybody, but she volunteered, and we certainly appreciate that. I want to point out the different places that we had locations in our cooperation we have with other entities. Our drop box at Elizabeth Fire and the Singing Hill Station is proving to be more and more popular. More and more people are finding it. So we want to thank Chief Steck for working with us on that and getting that approved. It's been there for a couple, 3 years now, but we appreciate the cooperation with Chief Steck and providing that location for us. The Elizabethtown Hall has been a good working relationship with us as well. Of course, we have the permanent drop box out there, but we also use their boardroom for our vote service center on Election Day. And we work closely with their town clerk, Michelle Oser, to get all that taken care of, opening the building and all that stuff. And so we want to say we appreciate them and thank them. Spring Valley Golf, of course, has been a partner with us for many years now, using that location as a vote service center, and it's a terrific location for us. Use the banquet room upstairs, and so we want to thank them as well. I'd be remiss if I overlooked our staff. The staff at our elections department is second to none. They know their stuff, know what needs to be happening, and so I just want to point out Rhonda Braun as the elections manager. Always is on top of things and keep things going. This year, Rachel Wilkins, we kind of turned over more responsibility to her, anticipating a transition there. And she stepped up and has done a terrific job as well. I want to thank the commissioners for giving us the green light to do an overhire, anticipating the transition. Amber Fisher is our newest member of the election team, and she stepped right in and did a great job as well. And it was a good experience for her to get her feet wet. And also, we stole Amanda here for Election Day as well, and she did a great job overseeing his staff support at a vote service center, and so we really appreciate her willingness to step up as well. So overall, it was a great election. Everything balanced. We know what every ballot is. So just for a brief, what's still left to happen tomorrow, we will scan the remaining ballots. Today's 8 days after election, when overseas and military signature cures, ballots from other counties have to arrive by today. We'll scan the rest of those in with a few, 71 or 72 ballots that we held back to make a batch that we can mix those in so we can protect voter anonymity. So those ballots will be scanned in tomorrow. That'll be the last ballots that get scanned in. Then our audit starts. We will receive, hopefully sometime in the afternoon on Friday, the specific ballots that we will be doing the audit on. We have to have that first round completed by next Monday at 5 o'clock. So more than likely, we're looking at some weekend work to get that prepped and ready to go, because our time frame is extremely compressed on that, especially given the length of the ballot and how many ballots we have. It's going to take a while to go through. If we have to go to a second round, it'll be on Tuesday and so forth. So hopefully we can be wrapped up before Thanksgiving. And then, as I mentioned earlier, barring a automatic recount, which we're kind of on the bubble. I think it's the psychedelic mushrooms on the bubble. We will canvass on the 30th, and hopefully that'll be the end of this year's election. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to ask them, but I just want to let you guys know things went well and appreciate your support.
I don't have any questions either, but thanks for the good work.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have any other elected officials or department heads that would like to speak? There being none, we'll close that portion of the agenda. We'll now move on to citizen public comment. Do we have any calls in, Amanda, or anything like that? There are none. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak? Is there anyone here that wishes to speak? There being none, we'll close that portion of the agenda. We'll now go on to discussion items. The first is discussion on records retention policy. I believe you're going to speak to that, Bart?
Yeah, Bart Greer, County Attorney. We've discussed this a couple times with budget and other end-of-year things. It hasn't gone much further than where we were when we initially placed it on the agenda. But it is something that I think we can continue to discuss. And it applies to basically all different departments in some fashion or another. So keeping it on the agenda for probably a discussion item for our next meeting makes sense. And then hopefully at the beginning of the new year, we can talk about what we want to be doing with that as far as various department responsibilities and getting rid of records so that we're not storing things that are obsolete, or seeing where we're at on our digital conversion of paper records to electronic records, and how we want to approach that. So I just ask that we keep it on.
Okay. Is there any discussion with respect to the records retention policy? There being none, we'll now go on to item 2 in the discussion items. Rick, could you kind of give us an idea of what's going on there?
Yeah, the intergovernmental agreement between Kiowa Wastewater Authority was approved on Tuesday by the town board. We spent the last several months, Bart and their attorney and that, going over the agreement to provide water and sewer to the new county road and bridge shop. So I think everything is pretty much in line with what's been agreed. And unless anybody else has any other comments on it, I would suggest that we approve that agreement at this time.
So what you're recommending is that we have a motion to approve this as an action item?
Yes, unless there's any other comments, I make a motion that we approve the intergovernmental agreement between Kiowa Wastewater Authority and the Elbert County.
I'll second that motion. Do we have any public discussion? Is there any public discussion? There being none, please vote. Aye.
Aye.
I did second that, didn't I?
Yeah.
Okay. The third item here is discussion on proposed ordinance and resolution regarding contractor licensing.
Good morning. I'm Greg Thompson. I'm the CDS Director. Presenting this item on behalf of J.R. Trout, who's the Chief Building Official. Have Elena Carroll here as well, that's representing Building Inspection. This is an item also that Bart Greer, the County Attorney, has been reviewing and been involved with as well. The item before you is a discussion item at this particular meeting. There's two different elements to it. One is the contractor licensing itself, and the other is the fees designed to, the application fees, if you will, for that. Contractor licensing, the authority for it comes from Title 30 of the Colorado Revised Statutes. It's basically for building contractors that are doing work that require a building permit. They'd be required to get a license. Right now, the county does not have that licensing requirement. It's designed to ensure that contractors doing work in the county are competent and have appropriate insurance. It doesn't apply to an employee of a contractor. So if this is the owner of the business and you're working under them, it would be under their, the owner's license. It wouldn't apply if it's done on somebody's own property. It wouldn't apply if they're licensed by the state. So plumbers and electricians would be two examples of that. The license would be administered by the chief building official. There are a variety of types of license that would be potentially possible for somebody to apply for. Some of them are more general, some of them are more specific depending on the types. The cost of the license is either $125 for that more general license or $100 for other licenses. Licenses would be issued when the fee's paid. A certification test that's an international certification test would be passed, or a license would be issued by a reciprocating town or county. So, for example, Parker, Castle Rock, Douglas County, Arapahoe, El Paso, all have contractor licensing. So those licenses that they might have had there, they might have already passed those tests. We would recognize those as being already completed, if you will.
They still have to pay the local fee?
Yes, they would still have to pay the local fee. The special contractor license is for very specific, elements. If you're doing decks and fences, and that's all you might be doing, or fireplaces, that type of thing. There's no specific exam for those, but they have to show competence. If you've done 3 projects in the last, year or 2, then you've shown that competence. If you've been doing that type of work for the last couple of years, you've shown that competence. The insurance, talk about that a little bit. The first 3 licenses, those more general licenses, there's a $1 million requirement for the insurance. The more specific ones have a $300,000 insurance requirement. The licenses are good for 12 months from the date of issue. If there's any concerns with that licensing and how that's being administered, there is an appeal that would go to the Board of Appeals, and the Board of County Commissioners serves in that capacity. Be happy to answer any questions you might have. Elaine is here as well to answer questions if you have some.
It's my understanding if the property owner pulls the permit and then somebody is working for that property owner, then they don't need that license. If the property owner is pulling the permit.
Yeah, so a property owner can pull the permit in their name and act as a general contractor and then subcontract out to anybody else.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make that sure that if the property owner pulls the permit, that they're essentially liable for the work and things like that, and anybody that's working under them.
Yep, and we have them sign a disclosure stating if they are going to act as their own general contractor, that they are liable for any work being done.
Okay.
The effective date of this is January 1?
That's what we're proposing. So this is kind of an introduction of the topic and the idea to the board. The expectation was we'd bring it back to your meeting in December with as an action item.
The only concern I have is if we have local contractors that have been around forever in Elbert County, and I know 2 or 3 of them, and they have to take this test, we need to give them enough time to prepare for the test and take it. So what I'd like to suggest is that we consider, say, a 3 months or 1 quarter or 3 months or whatever window to give them an opportunity to take the test and obtain whatever documentation they need and that kind of thing. Because like I know the couple of them that I know, it would take them a wee while to put all that together.
Sure, we can make it, whatever date you might like, March 1st or whatever you might.
Now, the outside ones that have already got licensed, I have no problem with that. It's just, if we've got a local guy that the only thing he ever does is build decks, and you've got to give him time to study whatever he has to study before the test and take the test.
So the decks in particular would be one of those special contractor licenses. So if they've been doing the work in the county, they've been getting permits throughout that time, and they can show that competence, they might not have to study too hard for that.
Yeah, well, whatever, but let's give them, enough time to be fair.
Sure.
Is there any other comments? Is there any public comment? There being none, so this will go on to a further discussion item or an action item in a subsequent meeting or a later meeting.
My expectation would we'd be bringing that forward to you in about a month.
Okay, thank you. That covers the discussion items. Now I'm moving on to the action items. Consideration of the October 26, 2022 minutes.
I'll make a motion, we approve the October 26, 2022 minutes and dispense with the reading.
Second. May I have a vote?
Aye.
Aye. Fleet management policy. Is there somebody that wants to discuss that?
I'm happy to do so, Commissioner. Art Greer, County Attorney. This is a policy that is broad in scope and covers essentially every vehicle that the county owns and possesses. It goes over maintenance issues, procurement, disposal of, patrol vehicles or vehicles that have surpassed their useful life for the county itself. It's a pretty comprehensive document. And we've already had most of these policies in place. This just conceptualizes all of those in the same document and pulls them together for this specific policy. It has been discussed at length with the various departments, to include the folks that deal with our insurance and procurement of those vehicles, as well as the maintenance of those vehicles. So I do think that this is ready for adoption, and I would encourage adoption.
Now, we had this as a discussion item at a prior meeting, and has there been any material changes?
I don't believe there's been any material changes. I think dates have been changed to reflect, today's date or the effective date of the policy, minor grammatical things like that. But the substantive portions of the policy remain the same as those that have been discussed and previously put out in the public sphere.
Thank you. Do you have any questions or comments?
No, I'll make a motion, we approve the fleet management policy.
Second. Is there any comments, public comments? There being none, may I have a vote?
Aye.
Aye. The next item is policy for disposal of surplus real estate.
Eric Larson, Economic Development Project Manager, just standing by for any questions you may have. As you remember, this was introduced originally in the October 26th meeting, and we're just standing by for approval.
Are there any material changes to what you presented before?
No, there's not.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't think so, but I think when we talked last time, you thought maybe out of however many we have, there's maybe 4 that are practical.
Commissioner, I'll revise that down to really 3.
3?
Yeah, in doing the research and looking at them a little bit closely, or a little bit more closely, yeah, we're probably down to 3 that are most likely to be researched further to see if they're actually going to be ones that we could do something with.
Yeah, and approximately how many pieces of property do we own?
About 94, 95.
Okay, that's what I thought, and most of them were drainage areas on plats that were designated as open space in prior subdivisions and stuff when that stuff was turned over to the county, and so most of them are unusable or unsellable, really, so.
Yes, sir.
That's what I thought, that 4 might be max.
I have no comments. Is there any public comment? There being none?
I'll make a motion, we approve the policy for disposal of surplus real property.
Second. There being no public comment, may I have a vote?
Aye.
Aye. The next item is amended and restated agreement for inmate health care services. Is there anyone here to tell us what this is?
I would expect the Sheriff's Department to be here, but it doesn't appear they are. This is something that I have reviewed. This is something I've discussed with the leadership at the Sheriff's Department. This is an amended contract which reflects the services and scope of services that the Sheriff's Department has said that they need. And so I have gone through, reviewed the contract, made some changes, worked with this particular company that is going to provide these services to make a couple of changes that I requested, and they've done so. And I think this one is ready to go. So I would encourage adoption today if the board is inclined to do so.
I don't have any questions. I'll take a motion and then I'll ask for public comment.
I'll make a motion, we approve the amended and restated agreement for inmate health care services.
I'll second that motion. Do we have any public comment? Do we have any public comment? There being none, please vote.
Aye.
Aye. The next item is CDHS County Computer Refresh Process.
I know nothing about this, so I can't speak to it.
Is there anyone here that can speak to it?
This is from the Health and Human Services, and I apologize, nobody's here to talk about it.
I think it's mainly the state policy that comes down, talks about refreshing computers and stuff that are owned by the state in the CDHS process and stuff, and I don't really think we have much say on their processes and stuff, so I would make a motion that we approve the county computer refresh process.
I'll second that motion, and before I take the vote, is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? There being none, please vote.
Aye.
That's all of our identified action items. Board planning, is there anything that we need to be thinking about?
Yes, Commissioner Thayer, I would request that we put on the agenda the update to the open records policy.
I think the contractor licensing will come back before us, so. Need to recess until this afternoon at 1 o'clock. I'll make a motion, but recess, I don't think we need one, but I'll make a motion, recess until 1 o'clock.
Second. I'll take a vote.
Aye.